Hi everyone, welcome back to our case study series. And today we will be learning about the guesstimates and how we solve the top-down approach, how we solve guesstimates using the top-down approach. And you can see that I have divided my screen into two parts. So on the left part of the screen, I will be showing you my approach, and after completing our approach, we will be doing some calculations because while giving any estimate interview, your approach is basically analyzed, not the calculation. You can always take round numbers as much as you want, and you can simplify your answer. So how you are filtering the segment is basically analyzed, and this is the most important part. So the question for today is we have to give an estimate about the number of ATMs in India. So when I talk about top-down approach, basically 90% of the questions while solving with top-down approach starts with the population of the country of or the entire world. So we will be starting with the population, and because we have to estimate the number of ATMs. So there are two ways. Either you can filter out using the urban and rural, and there is another option which I will be using, that is tier 1 cities, there are tier 2 cities, and there are tier 3 cities. And I will be giving the percentage of population that is living in particular cities. So let's suppose we in tier 1 we have 30% of the population. In tier 2 we can say we have 40% of the population, and here we can say 30% of the population again. And if you have done some interviews before, you can find that I have basically make three segments, and in other questions we generally use rural and urban, and I have used the similar percentage. We generally give urban as 30% and rural because I have combined tier 2 and tier 3 as rural. So basically this completes get the 70%. So basically, I have written down in some different form, and we are basically doing the same. Now we will be adding the filters by which we can filter out the people who will not be using the ATMs. So let's start with the banking banking access, or let's say bank account. So I am assuming because in tier 1 we cannot say that 100% of the people will be having the bank access or bank account, because in this 30% population, we are also adding or we are also calculating the children's or the people who are below 18. So I'm considering that they do not that they will not be having a bank account. So let's suppose 80% of the entire population in tier 1 will be having a bank account. Similarly, for tier 2, I have taken an assumption of 60%, and for the tier 3, I have taken the assumption at 30%. Now again we will be filtering out using some criteria. So let's say uh, payment or transaction via online, or let's say UPIs. And you must have seen that in tier 1 cities, large number of payments will be done or are being done using the UPIs or online transactions. So we can assume that only 20% of the population will be using the ATMs for doing the cash transaction. But in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, people are not very friendly with the online transactions. So we can assume that in tier 2 cities, let's assume 60% of the transactions are being done using cash, and for the cash we will be using the ATM. And in tier 3 cities, I have assumed that there will be 90% of the payments that are being done using cash, because I'm also considering that there will be no access of the internet, no access of the mobile phones as well. And in tier one, let us assume that there will be one ATM for every 1,000 people, every 1,000 people. And for tier two and tier three, we can assume one ATM per 2,000 people. Now let us move to the calculation part, which is the most important and will help you to get to a particular number. So I am assuming that we are a population of 150 crore and 30%, 40%, and 30% segmentation. So we will be getting a number of around 45 CR. Here we'll be getting 60 CR. Here we'll be getting 45 CR again. Now we have 80% of the tier 1 people of the 45 CR people will be having a bank account. So that will be goes around 32.4 plus 4, that will be, so let us assume a rough assumption of 36 crore, and here we have the 60% of 60%, that is 36 CR, and again here the 30% of 45 is 13.5 CR. Now again we have taken a number that 20% of the payments will be done online. So here we have 1.8 CR. Here we have the 60%. So that will be giving me what's 21.6 CR. And in the end, that will giving me the 90%. So roughly assuming that will be 11.5 CR. And we are getting a total of, so we will not be doing the total because we have taken that there will be one ATM for every 1,000 people, and for tier 2 we can make a summation that will be 1 3 3 CR, and here we have 1.8 CR, and after doing some calculation, 1.8 CR divided by 1,000 plus 33.1 CR divided by 2,000. So we will be getting some number, and you can you can give the number to the interviewer as well. So you can, I hope you can solve this one. Now let us move to the second question. Second question is we have to solve the number of iPhone users. So let's again we will be using the top-down approach. So as I mentioned that while using the top-down approach, we always start with the population, and let's segment by age. Segmenting by age, and I'm assuming that the people from age 15 to 65 will be using the iPhone or any type of digital mobile phone, and I am assuming that I'm assuming that population is distributed uniformly. What I mean by that is, let's suppose we have a population of 150 CR. So I'm assuming that 0 to 20, then 20 to 40, then 40 to 60, then 60 to 80. So the population is divided into four segments equally. So that will be 150, so around 35 CR each. So we are assuming that. Let me note right now. Yeah. So after segmenting with the population, let us assume that let us assume the market size of iPhone or Apple in India or preference by users. So I'm assuming that 50% of the users will be preferring an iPhone, but preferring an iPhone is not equal to that the particular segment of the people will be using the iPhone. So we will be segmenting by affordability, and for affordability, I have segmented user into few categories. That is the rich people. That is next is uh, middle class. Third is lower middle class, and last is lower class. And we have to give some percentage to these users. So let's say the rich are consisting of 10% of the entire population, and middle class will be, let's suppose, 25, lower middle class is also 25, so 20, 50, 60, and lower is 40% of the entire population. So yes, I have segmented. Now, how many users can actually, so I have segmented the population. So I have divided the population by these classes. Now I will be doing the affordability test. So 100% of the rich people can afford an iPhone, which is right. Let us suppose that middle class can also afford an iPhone. For lower middle class, I have taken an assumption, let's suppose 60%. And for the lower middle class, let's just suppose that 20% of the entire lower class population can afford an iPhone. Now doing the maths that is required, again the population is 150 CR. Yes. So I have mentioned that I will be, so yes, you can see that 0 to 15. So I have divided age group into 0 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. I'm assuming 80 is the average life of an Indian and divided into four segments. So 15 to 65. If I make an approximation, that will be 0 to 20 to 70. And 20 to 70 means 20 to 70 means, so this I will be including this, and half of this. So that will be giving me around approximation of 100 CR, and I have taken that 50% of the user will be preferring an iPhone. So I have got to a number that is 50 CR. Now again the affordability test. So 10% of this population is rich, that is 5 CR. 25% of this population is middle class. Lower middle class is again 12.5, and 40% of entire population is lower class. And how many people can afford this actually? So yes, all the rich can afford. So that will be giving a number of 5 CR. This also 12.5 CR. 60% of 12.5. So this will be giving me 12, approximate around 7.5 CR, and 20% of 20 CR is 4 CR. So after adding this number, we will be getting an approximate of 22.5 CR. That is our answer. I hope that will help you with your interviews as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Bye bye.